Green bonds are issued by organizations to encourage sustainability and the development of environmentally friendly technologies. They allow companies to fund projects aimed at energy efficiency, pollution prevention, clean transportation, and sustainable water management, among other things. Their tax-exempt status makes them an attractive investment with a positive impact. Companies can use them to fulfill their corporate social responsibility strategies, whether it's converting polluting factories to those with fewer emissions or developing cleaner transport. Launched in 2007, green bonds are used to finance environmental projects such as renewable energy, sustainable development, and other ecologically conscious endeavors. Today, I'm speaking with Crédit Agricole CIB's Christophe Cretot, Head of Corporate Origination for APAC, and Benjamin Lamberg, MD for Bond Syndication, to tell me more about this market. So, Christophe, let's start with you. The market had little or no growth until 2014 when it tripled in size to $36.6 billion, up from $11 billion the year before. What triggered this huge increase?
Starting in 2012, we have started to see some public issuances, such as Région Île-de-France in France, which started with a 350 million euro green bond issuance. This was further followed the same year, in 2012, with IFC, a supranational, which issued a $1 billion green bond. So I think those two public bond issuance with benchmark size really triggered the phenomenon that we have seen starting the year after in 2013, and since then has expanded significantly to reach, as of today, 56 billion year-to-date of green bond issuance.
We see a great growth potential for this niche, to grow potentially up to 3, 4, 5% of global markets in terms of bond issuance. It's the fastest growing capital area of capital markets right now.
Have environmental concerns really begun to impact business profits for companies as well?
It's more a question of corporate social responsibility. And it's more a question of all the economic players to play a role and to move towards a better and a stronger social behavior and environmental respectful behavior.
Is there a benefit to being a company that's applying for a green bond and to being an issuer?
I think first of them is definitely an investor diversification. Certain investors are only investing into green bonds. And therefore, from an issuer perspective, this is an investor diversification. For issuers, this is also an additional pocket of liquidity, because those investors investing in green and only in green, or even other standard investors, are also deploying some green investments.
A green bond is one of the very few ways that corporate has to deploy the CSR, the green strategy of a corporate. And as such, you don't issue a green bond for the sake of doing a green bond. You issue a green bond because you work for an organization which has strong value, strong commitment to the environment.
So recently there has been growing interest in the Asian market. Why do you think this is?
1 year ago, the Chinese government decided to be serious about fueling growth in China with sustainable financing. And they put in place a green framework in China in order to encourage all the Chinese issuers to issue under green principle, with green principle, for this money to be deployed into green project. And when China starts something, it goes fast, it goes big immediately.
Right. They just issued $3 billion in green bonds.
It is a Bank of China transaction, a complete landmark. It's actually very symbolic. This is the largest from China. This is the largest globally and ever. There was investors who never invested into any Bank of China paper, but on the basis it was a green bond. They wanted to make their first investment and help, China finance its energy transition through this investment into Bank of China green bond. So it's booming, and it's all coming from China.
How will the green bonds issued by Bank of China change not just the bond market, but industry as a whole there?
It's a virtuous cycle that is starting. An issuer does a green bond. You raise green funding. This green funding needs to be deployed towards projects which are green. It's also, when you're a bank doing this, that means that you're becoming green conscious.
This Bank of China green bond, and the proceeds of which will be deployed for renewable energies project, for pollution control, for transportation optimization. So all these are really highly green projects.
What are some of the issues when it comes to these green bonds? Will there be different guidelines for the Chinese bonds?
Absolutely. In China, PBOC, the central bank, has put in place their own set of guidelines. So they are in line, of course, with international standards, but there is some exception. And one of them, which is a notable exception, is the green coal, the concept of green coal. When in international market, the financing of any coal project will absolutely not be considered as green. You do have in China this concept of green coal.
How can they eventually convert that? Because there really is no such thing as green coal, right?
I think China has now caught up with all the major economies, but in terms of energy, I think the pace of going from coal to other environmental friendly energies will take some time. So we think that's why there has been this exception to accommodate for China to evolve progressively into environmental friendly energy production.
So what would you say is the future of this market?
Much more issuers, much more volume coming, much more geographies. 3 years ago, there was no Asian issuer in the green bond market. Now we start to see one new issuer every month, every quarter, so it's definitely growing. You start to see green loans, green securitization. So the green concept is being deployed into more financial product. And we have been talking about the energy transition. But there is also a new area which is growing, which are the social bond, with a view to finance employment, with a view to finance microfinance. So watch the space.
Thank you so much, Benjamin and Christophe.